Look down at your hands. You are holding a small, crumpled piece of paper. You look up at the television screen broadcasting the live draw. You look back down at the paper. The first number matches. You hold your breath. The second number matches. The third number matches. The fourth number matches. The fifth number matches. Finally, the red Powerball drops into place. It is a perfect, impossible match. You have just won $50 million. You do not scream. You do not jump up and down. Instead, your heart skips a violent, heavy beat. Your hands turn instantly cold, sweating profusely. A heavy block of air gets trapped in your throat. In that exact fraction of a second, you realize that the life of the exhausted, underpaid employee you were 5 minutes ago is completely dead. The person who worried about electricity bills and credit card debt no longer exists. But simultaneously, a primal, chilling fear crawls slowly up your spine. From this exact second onward, your entire world is about to flip upside down. You realize, with terrifying clarity, that you will never be able to fully trust another human being again. Every single dynamic in your life is going to change permanently. The habits you built, the way you spend your time, and most terrifyingly, the attitudes of every single person in your family. Today, we are going to walk through the exact timeline of your new life. We will explore how you will navigate the immediate psychological shock, how you will confront the predators hiding behind the faces of your loved ones, and finally, how you must build an invisible, automated money machine to lock that wealth away safely. A machine that will quietly print cash for you, allowing you to live in absolute peace without ever having to work a single day for the rest of your natural life. Let us step into the very first morning of your brand new existence. It is the very first Monday morning, after the money has safely cleared into your anonymous bank accounts. For the past 10 years, your body has been conditioned to a state of permanent anxiety. At exactly 6 o'clock in the morning, your phone alarm screams into the bedroom. It is the same aggressive tone that usually sends a jolt of panic through your nervous system, forcing you to throw off the covers and rush into the bathroom. But this morning is completely different. This morning, you do not flinch. You do not gasp for air. You lie completely still on your back. You slowly turn your head, looking at the glowing screen of your phone. You reach out your arm, your movements slow and deliberate, and you turn the alarm off. The silence that follows is the most profound sound you have ever experienced. You are not rushing to prepare for a brutal commute. You are not bracing yourself for another day of trading your precious hours for a fraction of what you are actually worth. You pick up your phone and dial a number. It is the number of the manager who has spent the last 5 years micromanaging your every move, denying your vacation requests, and making you feel utterly disposable. The phone rings twice. He answers, his voice already carrying that familiar, irritated edge, demanding to know why you are not at your desk yet. You do not raise your voice. You do not curse at him. You do not seek any dramatic revenge. You simply take a slow, deep breath and speak 3 quiet, freezing cold words. I am quitting. You press the end call button before he can even process the sentence. At that exact moment, the massive, crushing boulder that has been sitting heavily on your chest for your entire adult life simply shatters into dust. The tension in your neck muscles dissolves. For the first time in your memory, you actually taste the overwhelming, intoxicating flavor of absolute freedom. The remaining 18 hours of this day, and every single day after it, belong entirely and exclusively to you. You have successfully bought yourself out of the system. You are the master of your own time. But this euphoria is incredibly fragile, and it is about to be brutally tested. A few weeks have passed. You thought the money would bring you absolute peace, but the absolute worst thing about sudden, massive wealth is that it is impossible to hide the scent from the starving vultures. Eventually, despite your best efforts to remain anonymous, your secret leaks out into the world. The invasion does not start with strangers. It starts with the people who share your bloodline. You are sitting on your sofa when your private phone suddenly vibrates. You look at the screen. It is a cousin you have not spoken to in over 10 years. You hesitate, feeling a strange knot tightening in your stomach, but you answer the call. The voice on the other end does not ask how you are doing. There is no genuine warmth. Instead, within the first 30 seconds, the conversation violently spirals into a tearful, desperate monologue. Your cousin is crying, claiming they are on the verge of losing everything, begging you to clear a $50,000 debt for them. And then, they say the exact phrase that makes your blood run freezing cold. Come on, for you, $50,000 is literally just pocket change now. You have so much, you will not even notice it is gone. If you do not help me, you are destroying our family. You sit there in stunned silence. The initial feeling of guilt, the natural urge to be the generous savior of your family, is rapidly swallowed by a dark, rising tide of resentment. You realize with sickening clarity that you are being emotionally blackmailed. To them, you are no longer a human being, a cousin, or a friend. You have morphed into a giant, faceless bank vault, and they feel entirely entitled to your money. If you say yes, you become their permanent cash machine, opening the door for endless future demands. If you say no, you instantly become the villain of the family, the arrogant, greedy monster who forgot where they came from. The psychological torment only deepens. A few nights later, you decide to host a small dinner party to celebrate your new life, inviting only your oldest, closest friends. The people who knew you when you were completely broke. You want to feel normal again. You want to connect. But as the night progresses, you notice something deeply disturbing happening around the table. The atmosphere is totally artificial. When you tell a joke, even a terribly unfunny one, the entire table erupts into loud, exaggerated laughter. When you state an opinion, everyone instantly nods in aggressive agreement. Nobody argues with you anymore. Nobody tells you when you are being foolish. You look around the table, staring directly into the eyes of the people you once loved and trusted. You realize they are not actually looking at you. Their eyes are constantly shifting, calculating, assessing your wealth. You realize that your money has effortlessly purchased absolute obedience, but it has completely slaughtered every ounce of genuine trust in your life. You are surrounded by smiling faces, yet you are completely, devastatingly alone. The wealth has built a golden wall around you, trapping you inside with your own paranoia. You desperately crave just one single person to look you in the eye and tell you that you are wrong, but that person no longer exists. You have become an island, isolated by the very fortune that was supposed to set you free. The suffocating pressure of your ruined relationships begins to physically weigh you down. You are stressed, lonely, and desperate to feel something positive, something that proves this money was actually a blessing and not a terrifying curse. You decide you need to punish the world for making you feel this way. You decide to aggressively indulge your ego. You want to buy the ultimate symbol of untouchable status to prove to yourself that you have won. It is a Tuesday afternoon. You walk through the doors of an ultra-luxury sports car dealership. The moment you step inside, a senior sales manager spots you immediately. He has a predator's instinct for new money. He rushes over, bowing slightly, a perfectly rehearsed, dazzling smile plastered across his face. He addresses you with a level of absolute reverence that makes you feel like royalty. He guides you to a private desk, treating you as if you are the most important human being on the planet. Your ego takes the steering wheel. You want to prove your absolute dominance. You casually point to 3 different exotic supercars sitting on the floor. You announce that you will take all 3 of them today, paying completely in cash. The manager's eyes flash with hidden greed. Within minutes, a thick stack of purchase contracts is laid out on the table in front of you. He uncaps a heavy pen and slides it across the surface toward your hand. The voice inside your head is screaming in absolute triumph. You tell yourself that you completely deserve this. You suffered for years. You were humiliated by bosses and crushed by debt. $50 million is an endless ocean of wealth. Spending a couple of million right now means absolutely nothing. This is your grand reward. Your fingers reach out. You grip the pen. You bring the nib down, hovering exactly 1 millimeter above the signature line on the crisp white paper. But right in that split second, your hand freezes completely. You stare down at the paper, and your brain suddenly shifts gears, snapping out of the emotional intoxication and into cold, brutal logic. You remember the exact sensation of being violently trapped by credit card bills. You look at the 3 cars. You start running the invisible numbers in your head. You calculate the staggering cost of the specialized insurance policies required for 3 exotic vehicles. You calculate the absurd annual maintenance fees, the engine services that cost thousands of dollars, the property taxes, the luxury vehicle taxes. You realize that these magnificent machines are not trophies. They are metallic leeches. They are depreciating liabilities designed to aggressively suck the blood out of your bank account month after month, year after year. You look up at the manager. He is still smiling, but now you see the dark truth hiding behind his perfectly white teeth. He does not respect you. He is plotting against you. He knows that if you sign this piece of paper, you are willingly stepping right back into the terrible rat race. You are just upgrading from a rusty wheel to a diamond-encrusted wheel, but you are still the exhausted rat running constantly inside it. If you start buying massive liabilities to feed an empty ego and impress people who secretly envy you, your $50 million will completely evaporate in less than 5 years. You will become just another tragic, bankrupt lottery statistic. Your grip on the pen loosens. You place the instrument gently back onto the table. You stand up from the chair. You look the manager dead in the eyes, state calmly that you have entirely changed your mind, and you turn around. You walk straight out the doors. As you step outside, you let out a massive, trembling exhale. You were standing on the very edge of a deadly financial cliff, but you did not jump. You just won the most important battle of your entire life. You defeated your own arrogant ego. You realize that spending money to look rich is the fastest way to become poor again. The terrifying adrenaline from the car dealership completely changes your perspective on your newly acquired wealth. You realize that having a massive pile of cash is actually a massive liability if it is left unprotected from your own volatile impulses and the constant demands of others. You understand that to survive this wealth, to ensure you can live in absolute comfort until your very last breath, you have to hide the money. You have to hide it from the vultures, from the system, and most importantly, you have to hide it from yourself. You must strictly live only off the invisible interest, never daring to touch the sacred principle. The very next morning, you do not go shopping. You find yourself sitting in a heavily secured conference room at a corporate law firm. Sitting across from you is a team of sharp, unsmiling lawyers and ruthless wealth managers. You lean forward, and you give them your absolute final orders. You are commanding them to build an impenetrable, automated fortress around your entire life. You instruct them to take the vast majority of your fortune and lock it away in the most boring, unglamorous vehicles imaginable. First, you order them to purchase massive blocks of government treasury bonds. You accept that they yield a slow return because they represent absolute, unbreakable safety. It is a portion of money that can never vanish, guarding your baseline survival forever. Second, you command your team to quietly purchase several ordinary, working-class apartment complexes in steady, growing neighborhoods. You hire a strict professional property management firm to handle every single tenant issue, every broken pipe, and every late payment. You completely remove yourself from the physical operation. All you want is the final result. Hundreds of individual rent payments, consolidating into a massive river of cash that automatically flows into your private bank account on the first day of every single month, exactly like clockwork. Third, you order your advisors to buy large, completely silent stakes in the most boring, established billion-dollar corporations in the world. You are buying the permanent rights to their profits. You are positioning yourself to quietly collect fat dividend checks every single quarter, constantly feeding off the relentless economic consumption of the masses. But the final, most crucial step of this entire architectural process is the legal barrier. You instruct your lead attorney to draft a highly restrictive, completely irrevocable trust. You place your massive capital inside this legal vault. You purposefully and legally strip away your own direct access to the core funds. You sign a towering stack of dense legal documents, your signature effectively binding your own hands from making any future impulsive mistakes. When you sign the final page, you feel a profound, heavy shift in your reality. You have just successfully locked your inner spending demon inside an unbreakable steel cage. Even if you wake up tomorrow in a manic emotional episode, desperately wanting to buy a massive private jet or hand out millions to ungrateful relatives, the rigid legal barriers you just erected will forcefully deny you. You literally cannot touch the core pile of gold. You have officially pressed the power button on the machine. You have successfully weaponized your money, forcing it to work brutal, 24-hour shifts every single day of the year, purely and exclusively for your benefit. The machine requires no sleep, no food, and no holidays. It simply exists to silently, endlessly print cash and drop it safely into your lap. You stand up and walk out of the building. You are no longer just a lucky person with a winning lottery ticket. You have engineered yourself into an untouchable sovereign entity. Exactly 1 full year has passed since the night you stood shaking with that winning ticket in your hand. The chaotic, terrifying storm of the sudden wealth has finally faded into a smooth, silent, beautiful rhythm. It is a perfectly ordinary, quiet Tuesday morning. You are sitting comfortably on your back porch. You are not wearing a luxury designer brand meant to scream your net worth to strangers. You are wearing old, faded, extremely comfortable clothing. You hold a simple mug of coffee. There are no aggressive bodyguards around you. There are no flashy supercars roaring loudly in your driveway. To anyone looking at you from a distance, you look like a completely average, perfectly normal human being. Nobody out there has the slightest clue that you are a multimillionaire. You are utterly, beautifully invisible. Your phone gives a soft, quick vibration. The screen lights up brightly. You glance over at it. It is an automated notification from your highly secure private banking application. The text on the screen is incredibly simple and quiet. It informs you that $65,000 has just been deposited into your checking account. It is the consolidated, automatic deposit of your monthly real estate rental income and your quarterly corporate dividend payouts. It just appeared, practically out of thin air. You did not have to send a single stressful email to earn it. You did not have to attend a single useless, mind-numbing corporate meeting. You did not have to smile at a boss you secretly despise. The money simply arrived, exactly like water naturally flowing down a mountain stream. That $65,000 is more than enough to cover all your monthly expenses, fund luxury travel to absolutely anywhere on the planet, and buy whatever beautiful experiences you desire for the next 30 days, without ever touching a single penny of your original $50 million principal. You look at the notification for a brief second. A faint, deeply knowing smile touches the corners of your mouth. Then, you calmly pick up the phone, flip it over, and place it face down on the table. You pick up your warm coffee mug and take a slow, comforting sip. You listen to the distant sounds of the morning rush hour. You hear the distant engines of cars revving, thousands of anxious, exhausted people desperately rushing to get to their office cubicles on time. People who are trapped in a lifelong, brutal war with their credit card bills, fighting violently against their coworkers for a microscopic annual raise. People who are quite literally trading the extremely limited, entirely unrecoverable hours of their precious physical existence just to survive until the end of the month. You have permanently, completely escaped that brutal, grinding machinery. You have used your winning ticket not to buy useless pieces of depreciating metal and fancy leather, but to purchase the single most expensive, exclusive, and profoundly beautiful commodity in the entire universe: absolute, undisputed ownership of your own time. You have successfully bought your own life back from the crushing jaws of the system, but as you sit there, a strange, profound silence slowly settles into the very center of your chest. When you entirely remove the daily, exhausting struggle for financial survival, when there is no longer a heavy mortgage hanging over your head like a sharp, dropping blade, when there is no terrible boss left to hate and no stressful corporate ladder left to climb, you are left completely alone in a massive, quiet void. The lottery money did not magically change the core architecture of your soul. It merely acted as a massive, unforgiving magnifying glass, violently amplifying the absolute truth of who you really are underneath the stress of daily survival. A foolish, insecure person will always use sudden wealth to aggressively buy loud, desperate attention, rapidly burning their gold until they end up right back at the miserable, broke starting line. But a cold, awake, and highly calculated mind will strategically use that exact same wealth to quietly buy their complete and total freedom, fading away gracefully into the shadows of absolute peace. You have all the time in the world now. The brutal war of survival is permanently over. You have definitively won. But as you sit there, in the beautiful, golden silence, staring out at the vast, empty sky, the most terrifying, completely unanswerable question slowly rises from the very darkest depths of your mind. A question that $50 million cannot ever answer for you. Now that you do not have to do absolutely anything, now that you do not have to prove anything to anyone, now that the struggle is completely dead, who exactly are you?